The Sahara Desert lies to the west of the Atlantic Ocean, while the Red Sea lies to the east, the Mediterranean to the north, and the Sahel Savannah to the south. Algeria, Chad, Mali, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Mauritania, and Western Sahara are just a few of the countries that share a border with the vast desert. The massive desert is famous for its enormous sand dune fields, which have been portrayed in numerous films. The dunes can be over 600 feet tall, but they only take up roughly 15% of the desert's total area. The Sahara also contains a variety of topographical features such as plateaus, mountains, gravel and sand-covered plains, basins and depressions. The Sahara was once a verdant tropical forest. What changed it into the barren, arid landscape we know today? Exploring the past is necessary to find the solution to this. Changes in humidity and dryness have immensely impacted the region. These shifts result from variations in the inclination of Earth's orbital axis, which in turn affects the angle at which solar radiation strikes the Earth and the atmosphere. According to studies, the West African monsoon season has been a time of increased solar energy. During these seasons, which are referred to as African humid periods, North Africa receives significantly more precipitation than usual. Greenery spreads as rivers and lakes fill up as a result of increased precipitation, yet between 8,000 and 4,500 years ago, nature underwent a strange transformation. The transformation from humid to dry periods took place in some locations much more quickly than could be justified by the orbital circulation alone, giving rise to the modern Sahara Desert. David Wright, an archaeologist, explains what followed in his study. He combed through the environmental and archaeological data, which had been primarily derived from sediment cores and pollen records dating to the same time period, and noticed what appeared to be a trend where the archaeological record indicated the presence of nomadic herders, that is, humans with their domesticated cows and goats. The kinds of selection of plants also changed in a similar way. It appeared as though humans had left nothing but brush and desert in their path every time they had hopscotched across the meadows with their goats and calves. This made it clear that they were reducing the level of atmospheric moisture by overgrazing the grasses. Plants release moisture into the air, which leads to cloud formation and increased reflective power. According to him, this may have precipitated the end of the humid period much faster than the orbital shifts allow for. It is possible that these nomads utilized fire to manage their land, hastening the spread of the desert. Can you picture whales playing on the sloping sand dunes of the Sahara? Although this is exceedingly improbable due to whales' dependence on water for survival, there is evidence that current whales' progenitors swam around the hot African desert back in 1922 when a team of geologists led their camels into a valley in Egypt's western desert. Areas of high winds had shaped the sandstone into bizarre formations, and the sandstone rocks glowed in the bright moonlight. A local hill got its name, the Mountain of Hell, from the scorching temperatures experienced there in the summer. But here, in this dry valley, are the remains of whales. Bones as thick as logs for a bonfire were found in the remains of some of the 50-foot-long individuals. They were from 37 million years ago, when this area and much of northern Egypt was submerged in a shallow tropical sea. The geologists didn't know it at the time, but the fossil they found in the sand would help them answer one of evolution's biggest mysteries: how whales evolved. The discovery of feet in these ancient whales provided scientists with important information. Over the course of millions of years, scientists speculated whales likely lost their front legs and made the transition from land to sea. The fact that whales today still have remnants of their hind legs is evidence of this. Until paleontologists dug up hundreds of whale fossils from the floor of Wadi Hit and discovered bones that could only be legs and knees, the shift was poorly documented in the fossil record. Although older-footed whales' remains have been discovered, the abundance and preservation of wooden hit ants is unrivaled. Roughly 140 people annually make the trip to the valley, which is about a 3-hour drive from Cairo and is now recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The whales' scavenging predecessors may have been marine mammals like deer or pigs, according to paleontologists. As time went on, they began to spend more time in the water, first feeding on dead fish washed up on the shore, then stalking prey in the shallows, and then venturing deeper. It seems they followed suit. A few of them adapted features that made it easier to hunt while submerged in water. They eventually grew larger as their backbones elongated and their rib cages expanded as they gained weight after abandoning the need to support their whole weight when at sea. There are primarily two types of fossils found in the valley. The gigantic Basilosaurus had a strange appearance. When closed, the smaller but the more muscular Pterodon resembled a modern whale, but when its mouth opened, serrated daggers replaced the peg-like teeth. More than 75 whale fossils have been discovered in the center of Chile's Atacama Desert, which is a strangely concentrated location for such finds. To this day, scientists can't agree on how they got there. You're now aware of the myth of Atlantis. How this famous city is related to the next Saharan find will wow you. A gigantic geological phenomenon in the Sahara Desert, the Eye of the Sahara, is also referred to as Richard structure or the Gulb Arishad. The formation covers an area of desert in Mauritania that is 40 kilometers broad. Only a small number of nomadic groups in the area knew about the creation for centuries. In the 1960s, Gemini astronauts took the first photos of it as a landmark to document the progression of their landing sequences. Later, the Landsat satellite captured further photos, expanding our understanding of the formation's dimensions. At first, geologists assumed that the Eye of the Sahara was an impact crater formed when an extraterrestrial object crashed into the Earth. Geologists are still trying to find out what the building is made of, despite the fact that extensive analyses of the rocks within it have revealed that its origins are wholly terrestrial. Expert geologists have identified the Eye of the Sahara as a natural dome. The rocks here are at least 100 million years old, making up this entire formation. A few of them even predate the earliest signs of life on Earth. Sedimentary rocks such as sand, mud and sandstone are formed when wind and water drive dust and muck about, forming layers. Ingenious rocks, including kimberlite, carbonatites, black and rhyolites, have been discovered in the region around the Eye in recent times. This Eye of the Sahara, however, can be explained in another way. Some researchers claim to show the ruins of the legendary ringed city mentioned by Plato around 300 BC. Exists in the African nation of Mauritania, thus it hasn't exactly been a well-kept secret. Plato initially mentioned Atlantis circa 350 BC, a vanished island. We've been looking in the incorrect regions for its location because everyone assumes it's under the ocean, such as the Atlantic or Mediterranean, says Jimmy, a researcher. Instead, he suggests the Eye of the Sahara is the site. Solon, a Greek statesman, supposedly told Plato about Atlantis. Jimmy believes it's not just exactly 23.5 kilometers across the spherical, as Plato said, but the mountains he mentioned to the north can be seen on satellite imagery. Plato stated ancient rivers surrounded the city. Plato said Atlantis perished in one day and night of woe. Around 11,500 years ago, when Atlantis is claimed to have disappeared, there was a significant fluctuation in the temperature of the Earth. Additionally, Jimmy displays satellite imagery that is a simulation of the aftermath of a tsunami. Viewing the Eye of the Sahara satellite map, doesn't the entire area appear to have been destroyed by a tsunami or by water in motion? The next puzzle emanating from the Sahara Desert concerns an object that was found in the region and whose functions have, up until this point, remained a secret. The Clayton Ring, which raises even more questions, found in the most inhospitable part of the desert. This part of the desert is named after P.A. Clayton, who was a geographer and desert explorer. Clay rings are well-known types of pottery that are shaped like cylinders but have openings on both ends. They are invariably found with one or even more perforated ceramic discs, but because these discs are never wider than the ring's more narrow opening, they cannot function as lids. They are always discovered with the rings. Potters created some of them in order to fulfill a specific order for a set. Some of them, including the ones that are currently on display, were made from repurposed fragments of antique pottery. Those Egyptians who made their homes along the Nile did not make use of these products. We sincerely hope that you had a good time. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for tuning in.